Welcome to the Urban Wine Club podcast. Pour a glass, sit back, and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again for another amazing episode on our podcast. I'm Stamos, and with me always, Claudia Leitzman.
Yes,
Excellent.
so well, thank you.
Yeah, and again, super happy, super excited with all of our interesting guests, and happens to be that our guest today, all the way from Greece, was visiting us. I have to say, first of all, I'm all about legends in the industry, and this couldn't be more fitting. A very legendary family that our guest represents. Let's bring him onto the show. With us, Yiannis Boutaris. Yiannis, thank you so much for joining us on your travels here in the U.S. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, my pleasure. The journey with Greek wines continues, Claudia, as we have the opportunities to taste and meet and just enjoy what's happening in today's market, right?
I can already feel your passion.
Oh,
I know we don't
I'm
play favorites.
not biased, but I'm just gonna say
No biased, but the Greek man's a little biased.
right. It's come a long way, and one of the reasons why it's come a long way is because partially, in my opinion, Yiannis's family and his inclusion are a big part of this movement.
Yeah,
if I could say.
Mhm.
But having said that, let our audience. I'm sure you've heard the word Boutaris before. Boutaris has been a very iconic name in the industry, whether it's in Greece or here in the U.S. Because as a kid growing up, because I'm a lot older than both of you put together, if you put your ages together, is that we were subject to wines from Boutari from back then. And I'm talking about the 60s and 70s and on and on and on. But since then, Boutari is not the Boutari of before, right? So having said that, let's talk to Yiannis a little bit more about yourself, the fact that you are, how does it feel to be part of this iconic family movement?
It's amazing. I'm very lucky to be part of such a legacy.
I think Foti's a super fan.
With a big S.
Yes.
Okay.
With that being said, we'll dive into the family history in a moment. Let's just hear about you. Who are you? How long have you been in the wine industry for? And what's your role in the winery?
Yeah, so I'm relatively new to it. I started in Canada, and then I spent some time in New York working for our distributor there. So got to see the sales aspect of things,
Nice.
which was
What distributor?
it's called Skurnik Wines.
Okay, awesome. Oh, so lots of fun, small brands.
Yes, amazing brands, amazing producers, amazing people in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great experience, just being in New York and just going out and seeing restaurants and tasting wines is something that you don't find everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So that really, helped me broaden my horizons. And now I'm back in Greece. I'm working full time with the winery. Spending a lot of time in the vineyard, in the production side, learning,
Mm-hmm.
and also doing trips in the US and Europe to promote the wines.
Wow. Okay. So you have been a part of everything from the winemaking side, sales, travel. You've seen the distribution side.
Mhm.
Do you have a favorite piece of the wine industry that you feel the most connected to?
My favorite, I love everything about it because it's so broad. You get to spend time in the vineyard and you get to spend time in Boston doing podcasts.
Yeah. True.
But
That's his favorite part.
Yeah, it's your part.
my favorite part is the production.
Okay.
I don't have the scientific background. I'm not an enologist, so I'm still learning a lot.
That's fun though.
But I just love spending time in the vineyard, in the winery, and seeing the whole process of making wine.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It must be fascinating to watch the budding of the vines converting to this fruit, and that fruit taking its journey through the winery process, right? The process of wine, and then it ends up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the most romantic piece of it all that people always fall in love with. I originally fell in love with wine for the romance of it. It is something from Mother Nature from a certain time and place, and that's how we usually get into it. Now I love sticking my nose in spreadsheets and getting really geeky with the sales and analytical side, but it usually starts with the vineyard, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. And the people behind the scenes are just as fascinating. Just think about the life style of the people that are behind the scenes of what it goes through. Like we just see this final product, which looks beautiful, but as Yiannis had mentioned, it's the beginning stages of being in the vineyards, and it starts there, right? Like everyone's like, and then that journey is like, every day until how much longer? Like 6 months, 9 months, 10 months before
process
something becomes drinkable.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right. So with that being said, I want to hear, let's go back. Let's hear about this family history that I don't know. I've heard of the family. I don't know all of the information. So I'm learning as we talk too. But let's talk about the family history. Tell me what Foti's referring to in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And all these decades.
So we've been making wine for 6 generations. My grandfather's grandfather started the first wine company in Nassau, which was called the Boutaris Wine Company. And back then it was very different, right? Nassau would sell wines abroad, but it was also about making ouzo, about making Cipuro, yeah. And up until the 50s and 60s, when my grandfather took over, the business in winemaking in Greece was very different. Winemakers didn't own their vineyards. They would buy grapes from local growers, make the wine, sell it in their own store or through other means. And my grandfather, what he did was in the 1970s, he went and bought a piece of land in Nassau, and everyone thought he was crazy. They said, we're not growers, we're winemakers.
Right.
It was also a class thing. The winemakers were, in the winery, they weren't working the land. But my grandfather really believed that if you want to have good quality wine, then you have to control the production in the vineyard. And so he took this risk that thankfully worked out very well.
Of course.
And then they continued with the wine company, the Boutaris Wine Company. And in 1997, him and his brother, they split up. My uncle kept the Boutaris Wine Company, and my grandfather kept the original vineyard he first planted in the 70s.
Wow.
And created the Yianni Wine Company, which is what now my father is a winemaker there. And it's what we have now.
And now, do you only make wine, or do you still do some ouzo? What is the raki?
Cipuro.
What's the thing with the grape stems and?
It's a distillate where some parts of Greece call it Cipuro, but like in Crete they call it Sigoudia, or sometimes raki. Like they're all distillates from the leftovers of grape production.
Yes. We almost exclusively make wine. We make some Cipuro.
Okay, gotcha. So the focus is now.
The focus is wine. Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, and can you tell us a little bit more about the property itself? The number of wines you make, the size of the property, what that looks like.
So we have 2 wineries in the north of Greece, the Yianni wineries.
Yes.
One of them is located in Nassau. That's in the original vineyard I was talking about, which is about 50 hectares. There we focus in Xinomavro and a bit of other certain varieties as well for some smaller wines, but it's mostly Xinomavro.
Yes.
And then we have another winery in Amindon in the north of Greece, in the backside of the mountain, which is very interesting because it's 2 areas that are very close, but have very different climates. Nassau is more Mediterranean; it's closer to the sea, lower elevation, while Amindon is higher elevation, much colder, sandy soils. So in Amindon, traditionally we did the whites, and in Nassau we did the reds. Now, because Amindon has been growing, and it's really interesting what's happening there, we've been making Xinomavro, we've been making sparkling wines, which is what has the area is really shining with the sparkling wines there.
Awesome. Okay.
And then we also recently became part of the Sigalas winery in Santorini.
Amazing. And when did that happen?
Big move.
So we've been involved with Sigalas since 2011. And in 2020, we took full control of the winery.
Amazing.
And yeah,
farming is challenging in Santorini, right?
Santorini is it's a special terroir. Yeah, it's
One of the most unique, I would say.
unique. Yes,
Yeah.
one of a kind. I mean, just being there. First of all, anything that grows in Santorini is amazing. The tomatoes, the fava,
The capers.
the capers, the grapes. The quality is just amazing, and the wines are so unique there.
Yeah.
Especially the acidic with the minerality of the lava, because Santorini used to be a volcano 3,000 years ago, and when the volcano erupted, basically half the island collapsed. That's why we have this amazing caldera view, and the island got covered in the volcanic ash, and so we have a topsoil of volcanic ash that just gives the minerality to the wines.
It's ideal, right? It's
yeah.
so dry, from what I understand, that it's never been affected by any illness or disease. Like phylloxera never made it to
Yeah.
Santorini because of that element that the soil was so hot and dry that nothing could breed or live in it, right? So you've got these very old vines.
Exactly. We have 150-year-old vines easily.
They're just popping out grapes every year. Yiannis, if I can also include in this whole situation is that, Xinomavro, like Nausa for me is like the heart of where Xinomavro comes from. And over the last 20 years plus, we've been subject to still dry red wine made from the grape Xinomavro. But at what point did this idea to use Xinomavro in sparkling wine come about?
I mean, it's
recent or
it's fairly recent, but I think I would say that Amindo is more of the reason why.
the reason why?
Yes.
And we're growing Xinomavro now in Amindio
Yes.
because of its ecosystem and microclimate.
Mhm.
But at the same token, I would also want to express that what we're having in the glass here is an example of sparkling wine from Xinomavro. This
Yeah.
red grape that at times, years before Yiannis, we were always being told, Xinomavro is like this grape that produces wine that's almost like Burgundy Pinot Noir style. And now it's transformed into, maybe people think that it reminds them of Nebbiolo to some degree because of its transformation.
Wow.
But here, I want to at least toast with this sparkling wine in our glass from
Cheers.
your property. Cheers.
Thank you
Yabas,
for
as we
being
say
here
in
with
Greek.
us.
This is, for me, probably the most delicious sparkling rosé that I've ever had. Not because Yiannis is here. But it's just, it's beautiful. It's crisp, tasty, flavorful, fruity, all well balanced. And this is the example of the caliber of winemaking today in Greece, specifically from Yiannis States. One conversation we were having offline with Yiannis is that, years before, Greek wines were coming in bulk and they were pretty much spread everywhere, right? Like you could find them on the shelves in any retail shop. Now we're being more selective. Quality is increasing. Production is becoming more curated. Where now Greek wines are not as available, right? They're not out in the open like they used to be. So we're carefully selecting where we put them.
Yeah.
But for those of us that are out there that are trying to find Greek wines in places that where they live is not as accessible, well, we have this opportunity with Greek Wine Club that you can order wines directly online at greekwineclub.co, and these wines get shipped to you directly to your door. So this is like the times that we're living in, where times were a lot different back then, where now we have great production. Accessibility now, thanks to technology, is becoming more convenient for us, which is allowing individuals like yourself, Yianni, to kind of keep the vision going on what's next, right? What's next? So you did mention that your family project and now is moving into the space of Santorini.
Yes.
And you got that under your belt working. And Santorini obviously continues to become popular.
Yeah.
It's not slowing down.
No.
Neither the prices, but that's okay because it's just showing the caliber of the potential that's coming out of there.
Are the prices climbing significantly from what you've seen?
I think it's a progression over the last years.
The thing with Santorini is that it's a very small island. And production is very scarce. And because of tourism, land, the price of land is very high.
Yeah.
So, in order for us to convince growers to keep their vineyards and continue to grow grapes and sell us as grapes, which is something that's it's a hard job. It's not easy.
Of
Of
course.
course, yeah.
We have to pay them a premium for it. And if you ask me, I think it's worth it. The wines finally are getting the price they deserve.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it's because of the greed of the Santorini producers that we're increasing the prices to make more money. It's more of us trying to preserve the legacy of the island and trying to keep the quality of the wines at a high standard.
And to your point, Yiannis, even though the pricing is going up, it has not slowed down the consumption of wines from Santorini or the interest. So, is there anything else that we'd like to add, Yanni, as far as, you just mentioned the project Santorini. Anything in the pipeline for Giuliani Estates that you might want to share, if
I
you're able
mean,
to?
with Yianni, we are very much focused on Xinomavro. So what we do is we focused ourselves on these two amazing terroirs of Greece, in the north in Naousa and in Santorini, with Acertico, and in the north, Xinomavro is just amazing. What's happening? Yeah.
So we're focused on you're focused on Xinomavro now, so obviously Acertico in Santorini, but you're just going to continue to elevate the varieties as much as possible.
Yes, we focus on creating quality wines, make them better every year, understand the terroir better, understand the variety better, innovate, and help local producers as much as we can. Yeah.
Excellent.
If it's there's nothing that I like more than seeing young people be interested in wine and either having a restaurant or being a sommelier or having their own wine. If people are interested in that, then everything it's good for everyone.
Right, right. Well, Giannis, this has been a pleasure to get the inside scoop on what's going on in Kigali Estates. We definitely love all of your wines. We look forward to what's going to come next, whether it's in Nassau or whether it's in Santorini. Obviously, we're going to love to see you again shortly because your journey is beginning.
Yeah.
And so forth. Any last minute closeouts for Mr. Giannis?
I have one last question.
Yes.
If you could only share one of your wines with all of our listeners, what would that one wine be?
I'd have to say two.
Okay.
Because it's one from each winery.
Fair.
The first one from Santorini is the Sigalas Santorini 100% Acertico.
Okay.
Just because it really showcases the terroir, and for me, it's really what Santorini is all about.
Okay.
And then from Yianni, it's the Ramista, which is our single vineyard, 100% Xinomavro, all from our estate.
Okay.
In house.
Good answers. Okay. Now everyone knows what to buy from this wine club.
Having said that, Claudia, that's a great question to ask. Before you actually close us out, both of those wines that Yiannis has just mentioned, the Ramista and the Sigalas Acertico, are all available on GreekWineClub.co. So you can get there to that platform, read about them, and order the wines. Having said that, thank you so much for watching. We're going to have all the information in the notes of the podcast. Thank you very much, guys. One more last cheers.
Cheers.
Safe travels, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.